This is AHA, Ranking Highs and Lows, Episode 1.
Hello everybody and welcome to this first episode of AHA, Ranking Highs and Lows, the podcast that will celebrate the wonderful music of AHA by ranking all AHA songs from the worst to the best. The ranking has been done by the two longtime friends and lifelong AHA fans, Jesper and JP. To keep things moving along at a steady pace, we have me, Peter, who will be moderating the podcast. I'm also a AHA fan, but maybe a bit more casual fan than Jesper and JP. Jesper, will you quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm Jesper. We might add that we're from Denmark. I grew up in Copenhagen and still live there. And I've been an AHA fan since I heard the Sun Always Shines on TV, or I saw the Sun Always Shines on TV for several weeks in a row on Super Channel back in the winter of 1985. And I haven't looked back since then. Been a fan ever since. And without revealing too much about my relationship to AHA, I think the list will also show that I can admit to a certain preference for AHA in the 90s and the 80s, of course, also, and the overall maybe rockier side, including the live sound they had around 1991 to 1994. And I'm also probably often the most critical when it comes to sound and production choices and so on. But I guess you'll hear that throughout this podcast.
I think we will. And you, JP?
Sure. I'm JP, and like Jesper, I've also been a fan since the early days. And like Jesper, I'm also Danish. But opposite of Jesper, I grew up in a small provincial town where stuff like Super Channel and MTV were something you could only dream about, and record stores weren't really a thing. So the first time I came across AHA was when I heard and saw Take On Me on a New Year's evening TV show in 1985, and I was instantly hooked. And it was always about the music, but in those early years it was absolutely also about the posters, the pictures, the articles and so on. I had a teenage room that was covered in AHA posters from floor to ceiling, even on the ceiling. And like Jesper, I have a certain fondness for the 90s output, and of course also for the 1980s where it all began. I think I speak for the both of us when I say that we like to think, at least, that it doesn't mean that we're just two old sentimental and nostalgic guys who automatically dismiss anything from 2000 and onwards. But of course there is a tremendous emotional connection to the music from your teenage years, the formative years.
All right, thanks for that. Before we get to the actual countdown, I think it would make sense to just lay out the basic principles for the songs going into the list. Your rules have been that it's only songs written and performed by AHA released on an official AHA album or single. And that also means that you do not include cover songs or songs that have not been officially released. And I know that it's not cast in steel. There are a few exceptions, but we'll speak to those once we get to them. So before we start, I would just like to talk a bit about the whole idea behind this. It came from you, right, JP?
Yes, it did. I was the one who suggested doing this in the first place, but it didn't happen sort of in isolation. I think Jesper and I had one of our quite frequent late in the evening messenger chat exchanges about AHA and their songs. Which songs are incredible, which ones are underrated, which ones are really bad, and so on. And we've had these types of exchanges for as long as we've known each other, and that's more than 20 years now. And I knew that if I was ever going to make such a ranking, I definitely didn't want to do it alone, and I definitely wanted to do it with Jesper. I like Jesper almost as much as I like AHA. And well, luckily, Jesper, you were instantly on board.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking about this sort of thing for years now. What's the best AHA song ever? What's the most embarrassing? What do we agree to? What do we not agree to? We actually agree on a lot of things.
Yeah, we do.
I think all in all, it's safe to say that we feel that we are absolutely qualified to do this ranking as a subjective truth. Even the albums that we are least fond of, we probably listened to those albums a few hundred times, and in case of the older albums, our favorite albums, it's a lot. I can't even begin to think how many times we've spun those albums. So yes, I would say we are in a pretty good position to take a qualified stab at this task.
Yeah, you sure sound qualified. And Jesper, you even participated in an AHA quiz on Danish radio a few years back, right?
Yeah, I did. I got onto the radio and I was challenged to identify 81 AHA songs by just hearing the first second of each song, and it's safe to say I nailed it, and it was
you did,
and it was pretty entertaining, and it got me a lot of credit in AHA circles as well, I think so.
And non-AHA circles.
And non-AHA circles as well, actually. So it was my 15 minutes of fame, actually half an hour, but it was half an hour's worth.
Yeah, I heard it, and it is very impressive, to say the least. And you, JP, can you say a bit about how the final ranking, these 147 songs, came about?
Sure, I can try at least. I mean, once we decided to do the ranking, we sort of immediately started thinking about the criteria and agreed that the ambition was to create a list that, to the largest extent possible at least, was based on a subjective but still objective assessment, if that makes sense. I think what we mean by that is that ever so often you'll get a bit tired of a song, but we felt that we should still be able to appreciate the underlying quality of that song. So, and in this, in a similar way, we might have a certain fondness for one of the early demo songs, but recognize that more objectively speaking, it's not a very good song. So we try to look beyond the here and now. What are the current favorites? So to create the list, we made small laminated papers with the title of each song we were going to rank, color-coded by the decade the song belongs to. And then together with you, Peter, we spent a full day in my home office, which, to mark the occasion, was decorated from floor to ceiling with my old AHA posters that otherwise are stowed away in the attic. And that sort of set the mood. And then we created the list. And with each song on a separate piece of paper, it was easy to move them around as we drew new songs from an AHA decorated box, put them on a table, and moved the songs up and down.
Yeah, I was there, but it's my understanding that the list we made on that date, that's not the list we're gonna hear, right?
I would say not even close, because afterwards we had a number of video calls to adjust the list, to make compromises, a few compromises, not too many actually. We'll get back to the compromises along the way, but we re-evaluated, etc. So it ended up taking a lot of our time, and of course, especially the songs in the top 20, top 30, because we wanted to get it absolutely right, in our humble opinions. Maybe not so humble. So luckily, we mostly have similar taste. I guess maybe around 90-95% agreement, I would say. So it wasn't that hard to get to a final list, even though it took some time. So in a way, it's been easy to overall agree, and especially on the songs that are just awful, we agree on those. So maybe we don't agree with everyone. So yeah, that's it. So
yeah, and at the same time, it's also been quite difficult, because with so much love for the band and so much time spent listening to the music over the years, it's really difficult when you realize that a song that you really, really like is suddenly in rank 73, just because there are 72 even more fantastic songs. Yeah. So the difficult part was almost just as much a question of sometimes feeling a little bit bad about putting what you think is a really good song below top 50. It somehow didn't really feel fair.
Yeah, but I guess that's also where it gets interesting. But has it been difficult to also be very critical of some of the songs?
I mean, in some ways it has, because even if certain songs are what we consider to be substandard for a-ha, they still represent a-ha. And, well, it's a band that we've both been hardcore fans of for more than 35 years. But at the same time, because we've invested so much time in a-ha, their music, their history, and so on, we also feel that it's more than okay to take a critical stand when what we consider band politics or lack of willingness to collaborate or poor creative choices and so on have stood in the way of producing good quality.
Yeah, and I think it's often the case that the biggest fans are also the biggest critics, and we, as we start from the bottom with this list, it's bound to be really ugly at first. And in some ways, it's almost even worse with the new songs, because we don't hate them, we don't love them, but we feel kind of indifferent to some of them, and that's just how it is. That's part of the assessment.
All right, thanks for taking us behind the scenes. Before we get started, we should mention that we will be handing out some awards to some of the songs, like best or worst song from an album or best demo, and so on. So for this first episode, we'll be looking at song 147 to 126. And what can we expect from this first bunch of songs?
A bit of a mix, really. Some demos that don't really work, and some rather unfinished ideas. And I think we cover most of the decades in some shape or form.
Yeah, and maybe also we might run into a couple of surprises for some fans, and I think that's all we need to say for now.
Okay then, without any further ado, let's get started.
Number 147.
Number 147, and thereby the very bottom of the list, is You're So White, an unreleased demo from around 1984, and thereby also one of the three exceptions from our ground rules that it should be officially released songs. We still put it on the list because it's a fun thing in some ways, but it's not a good song. It's a strange blend of synthesized xylophone and marimba steel drum sound. There's nothing really that works. There are a few lyrics that I think are quite neat, that maybe hint at some of the greatness that we'll hear from Paul later in the career, but nowhere near enough to prevent the song from gracing the bottom of our chart, though.
No, it's there's so much wrong in this song, and yes, it's not really released, but it's part of a-ha, and it's not a very nice part, but it's also nice to have an unreleased song at the bottom of the list, at least. So that's good, and there is a few places. I think the most positive thing you can say about the song is that Magne is doing some okay supporting vocals, but all in all, this is a well-deserved last place.
Number 146.
Oh yes, and this is number 146. You Have Grown Thoughtful Again. It's a demo. It was also from the early days before the breakthrough. It's released on the Hunting High Low Deluxe Edition from 2010 and later on as well. And Peter, you have a little award for this song then?
Yeah, and maybe not the award you want. It's the award for worst song ever released.
Yeah, but I mean, and surprisingly, actually, there are some people who have a soft spot for this song. I have no clue to what that soft spot might be. This weird caramba thing he says in the pre-verse, and he sings very false in places, and I mean the list goes on with the song. There's a little bit of chord shift somewhere which is in the bridge, which is okay, nice, but it's still it's not really good. And Morten has not really gotten his super voice yet. No,
it's very clearly still at the demo stage, and definitely a wise decision to leave it there. And to quote the song lyrics, can't say I like it.
Number 145.
Number 145 is What's That You're Doing to Yourself in the Pouring Rain, a demo that can be found on the Hunting High and Low Super Deluxe 30th Anniversary Edition from 2015, and a song that is proof that just because it's exciting for fans like us to hear old demos doesn't mean that they are all great, because, well, they aren't. This one sounds like it's recorded through a telephone, which is a little bit weird. But still, it has its charms, and I think I would still rather listen to this one than some of the more recent and polished output, simply because of the nostalgia surrounding these early demos. But it's still not a good song, and I don't think it could have turned into a classic even if it had been properly produced.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's elevator music, and I mean, it sounds like a Commodore 64 game, and really, there's nothing much to come after here. It's just not a good song.
Number 144.
Number 144. I'll Never Find You in This Streetful City. Really long titles here at the bottom of the list. This one is a demo too from the Stanley's Rhodes Deluxe version from 2015. It has a really nice start, but it's just a little boring piece, and it's an instrumental one, and basically it doesn't have any direction or anything. It's sometimes a mellow little instrumental piece can be nice, but this one is only forgettable, I would say.
Yeah, I think it has a little bit of a Stay on These Roads flavor here and there, but clearly still a song left at the conceptual stage. It's by no means essential.
Number 143.
Number 143, Evitar, another demo, this time with a short title. It's from the Stay on These Roads Deluxe Edition from 2015. It's another almost instrumental only track. There's hints of a choir here and there. This one I think definitely has its charms, and it's occasionally enjoyable. I can hear it as sort of a very distant second cousin to Driftwood, but it lacks the distinct Aha signature, which also puts it here at the bottom of the list almost.
A distant cousin to Driftwood.
Yes.
I can't hear that, but anyway, I think it has a nice bass line, and the melody also has some quality to it. I don't think it was meant to be an instrumental, and it could be very nice to hear if there are tapes lying around with Morten singing on it, but otherwise it's also forgettable, I would say.
Number 142.
Number 142 is back to the long titles. Thus Ended Our Love Affair. Okay, it's only medium long. It's another demo. It was released on the Stanley's Rhodes Deluxe Edition from 2015 as well, third in a row. About this one, I would say that when Morten's vocals appear in the last minute of the song, it actually becomes great. I like the atmosphere in the song as a whole, and if it had only been finished with some more vocals and stuff, I think it could have been, well, maybe not a classic, but at least a way better song.
Yeah, I think it's somehow an intriguing idea, but the instrumental part is just not strong enough to carry it through.
Number 141.
Number 141 is another exception on the list. It's Digital River, because it's actually an unreleased live track performed on the 2019 and 2020 Hunting High and Low Anniversary Tour. This one makes me a little bit sad in a way. It was very exciting to hear that they were going to perform a new song in concert, but this one just really disappointed. I can't hear a strong melody. The lyrics, I don't know, it sounds like something that should have been written like 15, 20 years ago when everything digital was new. I think this is a disappointment to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say here. I mean, when I learned that it was actually Paul who wrote that song, I was so disappointed because I couldn't put together how that could be. It's Eurovision material at best in my book, and the melody line and the text, and so it's just not really good. So let's hope it's not the last we hear from them. And yeah, apparently there's a new album on the horizon. So at least that's a positive thing.
It'll have to be a really disappointing album if Digital River would outshine all the songs on it. So
Number 140.
Okay, number 140, Forest Fire from Cast and Steel 2015, the last studio album. And I mean, we know that this is a feast for some fans, and it just goes to show that being an a-ha fan can be vastly different things. It's one of the most cheesy songs they ever released, and they even released it as a single. I mean, the tempo is take on me-ish, but and there is a keyboard riff too, but it's a really poor one, and it has an offbeat riff on the guitar, and it's not really well placed either. And I just have to say, it makes my skin crawl. And Morten's singing is just not very good. It's pitched a little bit too high, and it doesn't sound that great anymore. So please stop.
Yeah, I mean, to me it also sounds like a very poor attempt at writing a hit with the uninspired Take On Me style keyboards and the guitar riff and the high-pitched chorus. I like the second verse though, but that's not enough to save it.
No. So we have a few awards here, Peter.
Yes, so far we've had demos, but this is the first album track, so it gets the award for being the worst song ever released on an album. And it's also the introduction to Cast and Steel, so it's also the worst song of that album.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Number 139.
Number 139 is another song from Cast in Steel. This time it's The Wake. This one actually, in my book, holds some promise in the verses and the pre-chorus, but then sort of a lame beat kicks in at the beginning of the chorus, and then it just instantly loses all appeal and just downhill from there. It's another example of the negative consequences, I think, of not having a shared vision for an album, and it sounds like something Morten could have put on a solo album in the later years. Yeah, not like a-ha.
No. I mean, and in my book, it's just as bad as the one we heard before with the Forest Fire, and I mean, as you say, it should have been on a Morten solo album. And I mean, on the positive side, I think this track could have had a fair chance at a Eurovision Song Contest, but but that's not the a-ha that makes me proud at all. I have to say that.
Number 138.
Number 138. Trees Will Not Grow on Sand. It's another demo from East of the Sun, West of the Moon. It's released on the deluxe version from 2015. This is not really a-ha. I mean, it's written and performed and sung by Magne, and it would have been out of place on East of the Sun, West of the Moon, the album. It's really poodle rock, ballad style, and it does actually have something on a rainy day, and I think Paul also claimed that he actually likes the song, which is not often that they like each other's songs, but I think all in all, this is a forgettable song, and it's out of style and out of place. So
yeah. I mean, to me, it's the sound of stone-washed denim and a beard put to music, and that's it basically.
Yeah, that's it. Let's move on.
Number 137.
Number 137 is We Will Never Speak Again, another demo, this time from the deluxe edition of Minor Earth, Major Sky, released in 2019. This one is, an unholy mix of programmed drums, uninspired demo vocals and strings, There's an annoying synth effect in the chorus as well that really doesn't do any good. And in some ways, it's of course not completely fair to compare a demo with finalized versions of the same song, but We Will Never Speak Again is also released by Morten on his solo album Letters from Egypt from 2008, where it works better. But overall, I don't think it's nearly as good a song as it wants to come across as.
No, but it was originally released back on Magne's Timber Sound album, doing the soundtrack for Hotel Oslo, the film from 1997, and at that point it was sung by Freddie Wadling, the late Freddie Wadling now, alongside Nelly Furtado, and I really liked it. I think it was cool, and it's a really a well-written song. So in that version, I would have placed it high on the list, but as it is here with the Aha demo, yeah, that's where it is.
Number 136.
Okay, number 136, The End of the Affair. It's actually a bonus track on the Carsten Steele album from 2015. It's a cheesy little song, especially there's a part that say ooh, ooh, and it really makes it sound somewhat pathetic. It's not all bad, and some small changes I would have might have placed it higher up on the list, but and the guitar playing is really nice, and the verses are fine, but it's really nothing more. So.
No, to me this is Magne by numbers, and it could easily have found a place on one of his solo albums, but I think it was a good call leaving it off the Carsten Steele album.
Yeah.
Number 135.
Number 135 is Turn the Lights Down from Lifelines from 2002. Sometimes we refer to it as Turn the Sound Down, because there's just something in the melody that is completely off. The chorus is among the worst of any Aha song, so covered in sugar or syrup. I would still argue, though, that even though we don't think it's a very good song, that it could have been a big hit if it had been released as a duet with a more famous female artist at the time, instead of fellow Norwegian singer Nelly Furtado, who does a good job as a duet partner for Morten. But if it had been released with someone like Christina Aguilera or Nelly Furtado or Dido or whoever was a big female artist at that time, I think it could have been a big hit. But in some ways, I'm kind of glad that they didn't go for that solution, because it's not a song that I would have wanted a wider audience to associate Aha with if it had become a hit.
No, I mean, I always refer to the song as the worst Aha song ever released. But as we've heard, it can get worse. But I mean, on My Dark Days, it stands out as the most cheesy track they've ever done. So yeah, the tempo is dull, everything is dull. Just, I'll cut it here. But it needs to get an award, doesn't it?
It does. It's our introduction to the Lifelines album, so it's the worst song of that album.
Yeah, and it's by far the worst song on that album, I would add.
Yeah, I don't think we disagree.
Number 134.
Number 134, What There Is. It's from Foot of the Mountain from 2009, and this is Magne reusing elements from the soundtrack to Tikni Viatet that was released back in the early 90s. I really like the guitar riff on those several tracks on that soundtrack album. But as this song, not so much. I mean, the guitar is out, the Europop is in, and it's easily my least favorite song on that album.
Yeah, and for me, it's also just about how Paul's lyrics, I mean, most of the time sort of border elegantly on the right side of unusual, but this time I just don't really get it. And I agree, which is also why it's here low on the list. It's the worst song on Foot of the Mountain.
But the good thing is that you get an award for that.
Yes.
That's an award.
Yeah. Worst song on Foot of the Mountain.
Number 133.
Number 133 is a return to the demos. This time it's a song called Umbrella, which can be found on the deluxe edition of Stay on These Roads, released in 2015. To be honest, I've always liked this demo ever since I got a cassette copy that circulated between fans in the early 1990s. Back then it was referred to as telephone, which makes sense because there's a telephone conversation between Paul and his then girlfriend, now wife, Lauren. It's not much of a song really. It's more of a track than a song, and objectively speaking it isn't much of a tune, but for my sake it could have been placed a bit higher on the list as well. To me it's charming. It's there's something fascinating about it, but it's not a fantastic song.
No. I mean, I was never that impressed with this demo. I mean, it's a fun thing to record a phone conversation with your girlfriend, and they also used it on an early demo for I've Been Losing You. It doesn't save this track that they communicate by phone, and I'm tempted actually to put it even further down the list when I hear it again. So I guess the compromise
is good.
Is here.
Yeah.
Number 132.
Number 132, Thought That It Was You. It's from Minor Earth Major Sky, released in 2000. Sorry, Morten. I know that he can write proper material, but this one is not among them. The production to me is all wrong, and the falsetto in the chorus is borderline, maybe even over embarrassing. And the drumming is so cheesy, and the glockenspiel keyboard is simply beyond what can be accepted for AHA standards, I think. And the lyrics with Amen, Amen, it sounds like Christian pop music. And not to criticize Christians, but yeah, this is not a good one.
No, I think I understand that the Christian pop reference. To me, it's an example of when Morten's attraction to religion brings out all the worst sides in him. And as an antidote, you should listen to Lord or Lay Me Down Tonight from his Wild Seed solo album, where he balances those questions of faith and great songwriting perfectly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not here.
Not here. So another award?
Yeah, it sounds like a well-deserving award, because this is the award for worst song of Minor Earth Major Sky.
Yeah, can't disagree with that one.
Number 131.
Number 131, another demo presenting Lily Mars, released both on the demo tapes that was part of an AHA book that came out in 2004, and also found on some of the Hunting High and Low deluxe editions that have come out later. Presenting Lily Mars, several versions of this demo have actually been recorded, so obviously it's a song that the band must have had some faith in before the breakthrough, but it's maybe also one that never really found a clear identity. I can absolutely appreciate it for its storytelling, and there's some lyrical gold nuggets like and when she's lying sleepless in his arms, the frost paints roses on poor Lily's window pane. I think that's really beautiful, and shows us already there what Paul was capable of when it came to lyrics. But the song itself would have been out of style on any of their albums. But it could have gone maybe a bit higher on the list, but not much.
Because I mean, I actually enjoy it to some extent, and the imagery of this cheeky is really cheeky and fun, and Morten is trying to sing it with an American accent on Paul's request. It sounds a little bit off, but it's not bad at all. It's okay.
Number 130.
Number 130, I Won't Forget Her, from Minor Earth Major Sky, released in 2000. If programmed drums could ever destroy a track, I mean, this is a strong contender, and it can destroy a track, because it did with this one. This is Paul's writing at a low point. I think it's a bit cheesy. The chorus in the verses and the chorus is even worse. It might be a distant cousin, as you say, to Digital River. Paul, he mentioned once that the demo was much better. Now that it's released, I can't really see that it is. It's not a good one, and Cooler Drums might have saved it from being all the way down here on the list, but.
Yeah, I think what's most striking to me is that apparently it was considered as a choice for the first single of Minor Earth Major Sky. So that would have been the comeback single, in which case I think the comeback could have ended before it even began. It is possibly the worst production of any song on Minor Earth Major Sky, which actually says a lot. I don't know. The beats sound outdated already there when it was released in 2000. It's not a good song.
No.
Number 129.
Number 129 is a song from Cast in Steel from 2015. It's Objects in the Mirror. It's not a horrible song as such. It just sounds like one of those Magne songs that come a dime a dozen. This is Magne with Morten vocals, but it's not a-ha.
Yeah, it's a very middle of the road track. A verse that passes, but the chorus with the looking back is bittersweet. It's just too bland and it's too boring. So yeah.
Number 128.
Okay, number 128, Så blåser det på julen, which is Norwegian. My attempt on saying it in Norwegian. It's a demo, and it was originally released on the demo tapes in 2004 with the book The Swing of Things. It's the only track, released track at least, they sung in Norwegian, and I like it for what it's worth. It sounds what I would think would be Eurovision Norwegian stuff from the 70s or something like that. It has a bit of ABBA in it, but it has its special moments, and to us fans, it's really enjoyable to hear it because it's in Norwegian. He sings very well.
Yeah, and here it's probably me who would have put it a little bit higher on the list. I like this one, and I could have seen it go a bit higher on the list, maybe not into top 100, but move it up a bit. But compromises again, puts it where it is, and that's fine.
Number 127.
127 is The Company Man from Minor Earth Major Sky from 2000. This is the obligatory stab at the record company and the man. It's relevant for those who want to understand a-ha's struggle to be something other than the Take On Me band, but basically irrelevant for everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I was never really that mad at this song. I really like the melody, but it's a little too literal and perhaps unnecessary, all things considered. But yeah, that's how it is.
Number 126.
Okay, the last one in this first episode is number 126. I Wish I Cared. It's from Minor Earth Major Sky as well. It's a song that I really liked it when it came out back in 2000, but in hindsight and over the years, it's a very slow song that drags along, and it sounds a bit pathetic in places, and it's not a really strong track.
No, I agree. I mean, when it was first released, I was hugely impressed, but it really hasn't aged well. So I wish I cared, but I don't, or not anymore at least.
Yeah.
All right, that concludes the first episode. You've taken us through the first 22 songs, and we have 125 songs left. We hope you've enjoyed it, and hope to see you back for our next episode, where we will count down the next 25 songs. And we promise the songs will get better. Be aware that we also have a blog where we post the ranking, and where you can read Jesper and JP's comments about each and every song. You will find a link to the blog in the podcast description. So, guys, any final remarks before we close down this first episode?
Yeah, I think that we might want to add that maybe we came across as a bit negative in places, but I mean it is the lowest part of the list. So naturally we are not we don't have the hands above our heads yet, but it'll come. We'll promise.